Do you remember when the European Football Championships finished?
Oh, those heady days, yes.
That amazing result.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to be talking about that for years, aren't they?
Forever.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the day after we're recording this. Possibly gives the game away somewhere.
Well, I'm sure it'll be talked about whoever wins or loses.
Yeah.
Whoever wins will still be talking about it.
Yeah.
And whoever loses, they'll still be talking about it.
Yeah. Because that's how it goes.
Yes.
Should I be giving away the workings inside the machine here?
No. Well, no. I mean, I was going to say something about it later. Cause,
oh, okay. Sorry if I preempted
No.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. This is episode 3 of Albumble. Is it 3?
It's episode 4.
With a 1. Oh, yeah!
Yes, episode 4. I do the evens, you do the odds. Sorry, I pick the evens, rather.
So, yes, this is... This is episode 4 of Albumble, the podcast where we review the albums we maybe didn't view the first time around. I'm Anne.
And I'm not.
Again.
Yeah.
You're still not.
Do you know what? When we get up to about episode 548,
yeah,
I'll forget to do the gag one week.
Yeah.
And people will go, you didn't do the gag.
I'm sure you said that last time.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I'm already repeating myself.
Yes. I can't remember what number we're on. You'll repeat, are we getting old, darling?
I'm not getting old, darling. I'm already old.
Don't you wear the conviction of...
Oh, I'd love one, but you know what? Not with my diabetes, love. No, can't have that. I'd be injecting insulin all over my body for the next 3 days.
Please don't do that.
No, it's that is,
unless you are actually diabetic.
And
if you are diabetic, please still don't do that.
Yeah, this is not medical advice. No. I should possibly
go and see your apotheker.
Yes.
Right.
I've been here some apotheker.
Yes. So, would you like to begin?
Yes. The album for this episode is 2008's Angles by Dan Lassac and Scroobius Pip.
Are they up with the angles now?
No. There is a long running, or particularly there were when they were a band. There was a long running joke with Scroobius Pip that people will come up to and say, "Oh mate, I love that album," or "I love that song Angels."
Oh, dear.
And just listen to the song. You don't have to listen to it very hard to get why it's called Angles. But anyway,
and it's not like it's one of the songs that doesn't have the title in it. He does say that word pretty much. A lot of the time.
Yeah. Right. So, but anyway, I'll
is there anything in particular you want to outline about the album or anything, or?
It's a British hip hop album, and electro, and hold on, what does it say on Discogs? Freestyle, abstract, broken beat, and hip hop.
Okay, I don't know what many of those things are.
But... No. I have a great fondness for this album and for the tour they did promoting it, because on the tour that they were doing with this, they had 2 support acts, one of whom was the American hip hop rapper B. Dolan. The other one was a band called Sound of Rum, who were fronted by Kate Tempest, who is now Kay Tempest, and just a trio of acts to have on the stage. And you know that quite often there are bands who will deliberately book people that aren't going to make them look bad.
Yeah.
This was not that.
No.
Everybody on that stage that night was amazing. And it was a really, really good night. But anyway, I'll touch more on... I've seen them a couple of times live, and I will touch back on that a couple of times through our more in-depth review. So should we have a look at the songs that are on that album?
Yes.
Okie doke. So the album opens with... Well, it opens with a speech.
Yes.
I'm guessing recorded live at a gig.
Yeah.
Where Scroobius Pip has one of his many rants.
Yes.
And it's a delightful one, because I think it sets a beautiful tone of angst, but also optimism. And that is only on the album version. It's not
Oh,
on the
right,
single
okay.
version. And then goes into the song, The Beat That My Heart Skipped.
Yes.
And I've got to be honest, I haven't made any notes.
Okay.
For this. I feel as though,
You know it too well.
having listened to it a couple of times over the past week, it's all come back quite
Yes.
well. So
Right.
I did have a slight reservation when I suggested this one, that it may not have aged very well.
Okay.
But I have to say, having listened to it again, I don't think it's aged too
I
badly.
don't think, as a whole, it's aged badly at all.
No.
However, I do have a lot of questions.
Okay.
So, one theme that's already popped up in the fourth podcast
Yeah.
that we're doing is this what I don't even know how to, is what's happening in this album a character? Is Scroobius Pip in particular playing a part, or is this how he genuinely feels, or does it change in between?
I think there's a lot of that going on.
Right.
You have to analyse which bits of this album are genuine from the heart from
Yes.
Pip, which bits are are a character
Yeah.
he is, or a persona he's putting, which are dramatised for the stage.
Yeah.
And I think in some cases, some parts of this are also an unreliable narrator.
Right.
And I think that comes into this as well.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, the thing is, if you look at what else was around in the British hip-hop scene
Yes.
at this time, this was such a blast of
Yeah.
fresh air. And somebody doing something completely different to the, oh yeah, I'm wearing my
Yeah.
Henley's gear, innit? I mean, now it would obviously be, yeah, I'm wearing my Hood Rich gear, innit?
Yeah.
But yeah, so in answer, I think yes, all of those, and possibly some others.
Okay. I'd say I found this a bit of a, and I don't mean this in a too negative way. I mean, it's slightly negative, but not very. I found this quite a slap in the face
Yes.
and I found it particularly too fast. I had to really listen,
Yeah.
and I still don't think I took a lot of everything in, because it was a bit like, if you're expecting me to understand what you're going on about and why and everything, on first listen, mate, you've got another thing coming.
Yeah.
Hence why I kind of said at the beginning about the fact that we're recording this in advance
Yeah.
and in a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah.
That maybe with a bit more prep and a bit more time
And a book of lyrics.
and a book. Well, I did actually have the lyrics
Okay.
in front of me,
Yeah.
but still trying to listen and observe, and
Yeah.
was a lot.
Oh, it is. Yeah. There are so many ideas going on
Yes.
all the way through this album,
Yeah,
and it's one of the reasons I love it.
yeah,
I think obviously I don't know how well it knows. Obviously, Scroobius Pip has gone on to have a very long running and successful podcast called Distraction Pieces, which I think is now up to about 600 odd episodes,
Oh,
something
gosh.
like that. So and some of those are long. Some of them are sort of over 2 hours
Oh,
long,
crumbs.
and he does long form interviews with people. So it's going to be relatively well known. He has a stutter, which
Yeah.
he, I think, found that he could find a voice through rhythm and through the music.
you mean like Scatman John?
I was thinking more of the lad from the school documentary.
Oh,
Oh, crikey.
mushy.
Mushy, yeah.
Yeah,
And I think it was a similar sort of realisation through that. And then obviously has gone on to record this album. It does start off very brash. I think we've touched on this a bit with the other albums we've spoken about. I think an album needs something that is a statement of intent
Yeah.
at the start. And I think that's what this is. It's a song about introductions. It's a song about falling in love. It's a song about meeting people for the first time. And yeah, I like it. Okay. Track 2 is Development.
Right, so I liked this song a lot more because it was a bit more accessible. It was it had that kind of twangy country thing at the start, which also seems to be a weird theme that seems to be going through some of these albums. And I actually felt like this was one I could listen to and go, right, I think I understand who you are in this song.
Yeah.
I thought it... I almost thought that in this song he was contradicting ever so slightly what he was saying in the first song, because he talks about going through the chemical elements to kind of make himself sound clever, but that's not a new idea. Tom Lehrer,
he makes the point, I used to listen to Mos Def rhyme the alphabet, just sit back and listen as a mark of respect. And I think he starts doing the chemical elements as a just proof that this is something I can rap about. It's because it's also a rap about hip hop and how the scene is and how narrow it is.
Yes.
Which of course is something that he touches on a great deal through this. But yeah, it's good, isn't it?
It's yeah.
I just realised a lot of the way through this I'm just going to say, yeah, I fucking love this. That might be my overall opinion of it, but that I do have an awful lot of affection for this album, so I also struggle to articulate sometimes exactly why why something connects with me. But yeah, the sort of the plucked guitar motif through there is very clever too. Anyway, on to track 3.
Okay.
Look for the Woman.
So, this... Right. Again, I don't want this to sound like a negative thing, but I almost wish they'd have got somebody in to actually sing it like a proper song.
Right.
Because it's a little bit slower and is a little bit more narrative.
Yeah.
And when you listen to it, it does kind of have a rhythm where you think this could actually... I almost feel like somebody could do a cover version of this.
Oh, yeah,
where it is actually a proper, inverted commas, song.
Yeah.
Rather than a rap.
Yeah.
Which is kind of my main point.
Yes, I think this is the first one that features any vocals from Dan on the album. And I believe is based on a breakup that he had relatively recently at the time that this was being recorded and the album was being put together. So I suppose it's a little bit the case of the performer, the singer-songwriter thing, where there's a lot of people who say that modern artists are only valid if they write and perform their own material, whereas there are an awful lot of performers, some of the most famous performers of all time, who have only ever performed songs written for them or songs that they've covered. Yeah. So yeah, it's a completely valid argument. Yeah. So the gig they did promoting the first album, this song was dedicated to somebody who'd asked their other half to marry them outside the gig, and Scroobius Pip said, "We're going to dedicate this one to you," and Dan just pipes up, "What? You're going to dedicate a song about a shitty relationship ending?" which again, which was a sign of how much fun and joy there was in that room. Anyway, on to track 4, Rapper's Battle.
So, I like the piano motif in this one. And and it was, for me, a much more accessible rap type thing. Although I did have to have a little chuckle because there is sorry to bring the E word back into this, there is a Eurovision trope of any song which has wire, fire, desire. And it came up and I was like, oops. And then the one thing I didn't understand was why they ended up with the end being some weird Max Headroom-esque kind of it was like and it went on for quite a long time.
Yeah. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because it's better than just fading it out.
Okay.
Obviously the battle that he's talking about in this feels like far more of an internal battle than an external battle. And I think that back in 2008, somebody talking about effectively what has become the conversation about mental health and mental well-being and understanding yourself. This is something he goes on to do a lot more on the next album, particularly. I think that's really quite trailblazing for the time. It's probably one of the ones on the album that I thought when I listened to it this week, this is the first time I've listened to this probably since a few months after the album was out, because there are certain songs off this that I hear fairly often. There are certain ones that will pop up occasionally on Six Music. There are certain ones that will pop up elsewhere. But yeah, I was pleased to remake my acquaintance with it.
Yeah, I guess this is more. One might think from the title they're talking about rappers battling, like like you see them on things.
But it's about a different battle.
It's the battle of the hero inside yourself.
It's the battle of the angel and the demon on the shoulder, isn't it? I think so. Yeah. Right, track 5 is Tommy C.
Okay, so this wasn't the Tommy C I was expecting there to be a rapper band.
It's good, isn't it?
It's very, very good.
Yeah.
It's very well balanced for what it's about and everything. It could have been quite schmaltzy, or it could have been quite not matter of fact, but there is a small bit of lots of emotions.
Yeah.
Without going too far down one street.
Yeah. But then I think that's a good reflection of how life actually is.
Yes.
Because life has light and shade to it, and it's not all one thing or the other, unless you're a character in EastEnders.
Yes.
I think to be able to write, because this is poetry. Let's be honest.
Yes.
This is proper spoken word type poetry.
Yeah.
And to be able to write something like that about the death of Tommy Cooper on stage, I think is absolute genius.
Yeah.
And to use that to prove a point about how a word is used in pop music is genius as far as I'm concerned.
Do you think a lot of people who would have been following them would have even known who Tommy Cooper was?
You see, I think 17
did this at the time what's the word, appeal to a slightly older demographic?
I think that if you look at how we accessed media, even when this album was recorded, I think it would have been far more prescient than if you presented the same thing to somebody now. So I think everybody did know, and those who didn't learned something, which is no bad thing.
No.
Track 6 is Fixed, which is obviously based around a sample of Fix Up Look Sharp,
Yes.
By Dizzy Rascal.
By Dizzy Rascal. Now, this was one of the songs where, you know, when you have that, have you seen the meme of the of the puppet monkey with the eyes that are looking around?
Oh, right, okay.
Right. This is where that if I'd have been listening with other people, I would have kind of gone, have I got the wrong end of the stick
Right, okay.
here with this one? So I didn't know whether he was being I don't even know how to describe what, like, is he just saying, like, we need to do things like this, or is he being a bit up himself? Do you know what I mean?
I think the thing you need to focus in on with this one is there's a line in there about Channel U.
Yeah.
Which was obviously a Sky Music channel that was active at this time, that had loads of homemade videos, mostly homemade videos, from kids in South London hanging around in groups with their hoods up, looking well gangster in it. And I think it's a response to that, because there was so much of that going on at the time. Yeah.
Right.
And there were so many people just saying the same thing.
Right.
And just glamorising being threatening and how great they are. And this is, I think, a response to that, and just saying, listen to what's come before you, because these people were teaching you to be better, not to be imitators following a script.
Yeah.
So yes, he is being a bit preachy, but I've got to be honest, I don't mind it.
No, you wouldn't tell him. You wouldn't tell him no, would you?
No, because to be honest, I agree with most of what he was saying. And if you listen to a lot of British hip hop and to an extent R&B and that sort of thing from that time, a lot of it was bloody awful.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of stuff there that was just being done. So, yeah, you go and buy him a ringtone. And that's a lot of the culture he was taking the piss out of. So a lot of these kids can get their guns out and kill me, but how many of them can inspire and thrill me? Yeah. I've got a holster. I keep biscuits in it. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm. That's my position on that one. Track 7... Angels, yeah.
Okay, so this is a very, very clever song.
Yeah.
It put me in mind of, I don't know whether you remember this, in the 80s, there was a advert, which I believe, I want to say was for The Guardian, or might have been Independent.
Yeah.
Of a punk running down a road towards a granny. Do you remember this
I don't
advert?
think I do. Carry on.
So, you saw this punk. It was a black and white advert.
Yeah.
Of a punk running down the road towards this granny, who was like her handbag, like in front of her, looking really, really scared. And then they showed you the same scene, but from the back or from the side, and what you actually saw was where the woman was standing was some builder's equipment, and the scaffolding was about to fall.
Yeah.
And he'd run over to push her out the way.
Yeah.
And it was all about the fact that you shouldn't take everything at face value
from one viewpoint.
And it exactly put me in that. It was kind of like, you just can't see things from one perspective, nor even your own perspective.
Yeah.
Because your perspective has weight and baggage towards it.
Yeah.
When the person who you're also putting your opinion on also has their own weight and baggage.
Yes.
What I would say, though, what makes this song is the background music. Now, I don't know if this is my brain, but does that background music get louder?
Oh God, yeah.
Because it's like one of those things where I'm going, is it just getting more intense because the story is getting more intense?
Yeah.
Or is it my brain?
No,
it's just so that simplicity of the kind of wah wah kind of alarm almost.
Yeah.
That just...
And the pulse beats that go on as well. But yeah, Dan is a master at doing that sort of thing where it is not just, as with a lot of hip-hop acts, particularly of this era, it's not just a beat that they rap over. It is narrative to the story as well. Dan's gone on to do a lot of work on computer game soundtracks, and I think he's done some incidental music for films and stuff like that as well. And he totally understands how to do this. This is one of the songs I was really worried would have aged badly when I listened to it again.
Okay.
It still has a visceral effect on me. I know there are a couple of parts in it which perhaps feel a little bit clunky and don't work. It's really interesting because when I saw them live with the first album, they Pip did this thing where he had a bag of hats,
right,
and would get out hats for who was talking at the time. Now, this really threw me off.
Oh,
because at the time,
did you think you knew who they all were?
No, at the time, I'd listened to this and thought, this hits me hard. This is very serious.
Yeah, and then it wasn't.
And then the on-stage performance is much less serious.
Oh.
And that really threw me.
Is that, do you think, so that he can get through it? Because if you had to perform that every night for God knows how many nights, you'd feel like shit.
Quite possibly,
so by lightening the performance so that you can get through it, might also...
yeah, I must admit, I have... it's not... I think it's just at the time, I was stood there watching, I thought, what the fuck's going on here? and just wondering, why is this happening? And then, I think over time, it's... Obviously, that's mellow, but listening to the song again this week, and particularly if you listen to this through headphones,
yes,
as opposed to listening on it in a wider sound on a wider area sound system, it's just visceral.
Yes,
I think I used that word last time. Yeah. But it is. Yeah. It gets right to the core of me. Yes. So anyway, moving on to Letter from God to Man, which is based around some Radiohead samples.
Yes.
Which not many people get permission for.
No. Do you think they're buddies then? Or do you think they've got mutual respect?
I think...
Because they're not exactly... Well, one might not put them in the same genre.
No, but I think...
They have an independent spirit.
Radiohead recognise when somebody is doing something artistic rather than just using their hook for gain.
Yes.
Because it's not using the most famous Radiohead song. So it's... it is using something and building upon that. And I love this as a theme on which to base a song.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, quite interesting that a lot of the things going on in this song are also things which are still prescient today and are still relevant. Anyway, over to you.
Yeah. So I guess the cleverness of, because it's I don't want to say it would be quite easy to write about what man has done in the name of God that's really, really bad. But what is interesting that he's been able to do is to write it in a way where he's being judgy on every religion.
No.
Like, it's not like he's pointing out, well, the Christians have done this, and the Jews have done that, and the Islamists have done that, and the Buddhists have sat back and done fuck all. It's a bit like you can listen to everything and go, I don't want to say, well, you could literally think that could be anybody. Yeah. But it's like there's no, I don't want to say no blame.
No, but there are facets within that relate, I think, to
everything.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it could be quite easy for them to have just written it again from one God perspective.
Yeah.
But then you'd have the Greensboro, whatever, the Westboro Church of whatever
lunatics, I think is the word you're looking for,
or whatever faction of whatever religion out coming to your gigs. So actually to have something that's what's the word? I'm not good with my
broadly
words.
critical of religion.
Yeah, broadly, like there's everything is under the same umbrella.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who the god is.
Yeah.
Or which god, or which one of the gods, or it's you are all culpable.
Yes. I think he possibly shares a viewpoint with me, which is, I like my religions like I like my doctors. First, do no harm.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll move on from that to another one that's a bit of a kick up the arse. The Magician's Assistant.
Okay, so this is another one where I was kind of going, am I reading the wrong thing into this? Because I wasn't sure whether he was just laying everything out and going, this is how it is, or whether he was, because every so often he would say something and I'm going, oh, it's the use of the word but that gets me. Is he'll say, oh, this is really bad, but and I'm like, are you saying that like genuinely it's really sad that you've committed suicide, but these things have also happened? Or are you saying this is really sad but you should have thought of these things, you selfish prick? I couldn't really tell.
I think it is an exploration of how self-harm and suicide is not something that, to quote the song, just affects you.
Yes.
And it is, I think, about the only time that I've ever heard in popular culture somebody relaying a feeling of anger at somebody who has self-harmed.
Yeah.
And I think that if it encourages anybody to think differently about their actions, then it's achieving something, because that anger stems from somewhere.
Yes.
And whether it's a direct response to a situation that he's been in, or whether it's a response to a similar situation where he can draw a parallel to this, I think it is also explaining that there are a lot of emotions going on at that sort of time, and it's really difficult to differentiate between them sometimes. And it can be really hard to work out whether you feel sympathy for someone, whether you feel anger towards them, or whichever way you are supposed to feel about something.
I think possibly this song benefits almost from the fact that this is something you don't hear.
Yeah.
Therefore, when you do hear it,
yeah.
you don't really know how to feel.
No.
Because you're like, I find this so it's a bit like, I find parts of it uncomfortable, and is that okay? Like, I'm not saying. I mean that as a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Is that okay that I find this bit hard to listen to, or I find this bit, or I don't agree with something.
Yeah.
Because you don't hear it. So it's not. I guess what I'm trying to say is that. I don't think it is a criticism of his writing, of the subject matter. It's more that he's one of the few that does it.
Yeah.
Therefore, you have nothing else to compare it with. There's no other.
No.
Like, this is how he's explaining his ideas and thoughts.
Yeah.
But there's no... I mean, literally, there's no other angle.
No.
Going back to another song.
But if nobody else is going to give a voice to that emotion, and it is something that I think people must feel.
Yeah.
If they are in the situation where somebody close to them is self-harming or has gone further.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that he's put it out there is really brave. I don't think they performed this one live.
Right.
And again, it's another one where the musicality of everything that goes on.
Yes.
While this anger is building, and the way the background squelches and mangles itself and becomes distorted and throws itself against the wall at one point.
Yeah.
It just builds that world.
Yeah.
And I almost want to say embellishes it, which sounds as though it's selling it short.
But I guess if you don't know about that feeling and you've not had that in your life, then having a audible landscape,
reference point
to imagine the mangling and kind of the kneading, K-N-E. Stretching and pummeling and rising and falling of feelings does help get across that message.
Yeah. I think it's a tremendously important song.
Yes.
And I recognise why for some people it's going to be too much.
Oh, yeah.
For them, and I recognise the other thing about that is nobody is going to listen to that song and say I felt nothing.
No,
because if they do, then
they've not listened to it properly.
No, if they don't feel a response to that, then they must be completely dead inside. So anyway, right, that's The Magician's Assistant, and we are now on to Back from Hell, which after The Magician's Assistant is very Route 1.
Yes, yes, yes. It's got a slight punky sound.
Yeah.
A bit more kind of kind of brings a bit of fresh life, almost, from kind of the weirdness from what we've just come from.
I get the feeling this may well have started out life as, if not a full-on instrumental, I get the feeling that this started out as one of Dan's projects that Pip added lyrics to. There are a lot of songs here that we've spoken about where it sounds like these are lyrics that have then been then had the music added to them. This feels a lot more like this started off as the music, and then had the lyrics added to it later on. It feels rather light compared to a lot of where we have been going.
Yes.
But it's no bad thing.
No.
As I said before, life is light and shade, and it needs that balance to...
This album in particular seems like you had the big start, and then there's kind of been a levelling off, and then in the middle there's this crescendo of feelings.
Yeah.
And then this feels a bit like on the... I don't want to say on the come down, because there are some other songs to come that have feelings in them, but it almost feels like it's coming down to a bit of normality.
Yeah.
After some kind of more adult emotions, should we say?
Yes. Yeah. I think this was also on I can't remember which one of the singles it was on now. It may have been when they did Look for the Woman as a single. But anyway, I won't look that up because that's not particularly interesting.
Okay.
Sorry. I got a bit lost there.
All right.
On to the big single off the album, or certainly the one that I think got them their breakthrough.
Yes.
Got them noticed. And that is Thou Shalt Always Kill.
Kill.
Yeah. I mean, he is
Kiw.
He is an Essex boy, so we can forgive him for that.
So this again, one could take what he's doing at two levels, although I do think he's trying to be quite matter of fact in the fact that things are just things. And that you are allowed to like things and hate things. Yeah. And it's not the end of the world.
And also, I will say, in later versions of this and in later live performances, where there are things that he's changed his mind about, he has changed the lyrics.
Right, okay. I think obviously the title is slightly going back to the religious... themings as well. Although I do wonder, does he actually mean kill? Because obviously you, like, when you're performing, you go, "Oh, I went out there and I killed it." Yeah. Like that kind of like doing well. Yeah. You should always do well. It almost means you should. Does he mean actually you should just always do yourself good?
That's the interpretation I've taken out of it. Whether that's right or not, I don't know. No. Perhaps it's there for you to make your own mind up about.
Yeah. But then again, I also think, even if you thought it meant like the bad version, I don't think he's saying you should always kill. I think it's like you are allowed to not like things. Yeah. Like cut things, people off that you don't want to hear. Don't want to listen to, you know. I suppose in nowadays you'd probably call it cancelling. Yeah.
Thou shalt always cancel.
Yeah. Which is
no. We're yeah.
But yeah. So yeah. I mean, it's one of those list songs. I do like a list song.
I fucking love a list song.
A list song is great.
Do. Yeah.
You know. Like we didn't start the fire. Yeah. And the one by Squeeze that I can never remember the title
Hourglass.
of because even though the word hourglass is in the song, I always forget that it's actually
I will say as well, there was a later version of this with one of De La Soul involved in it, where a lot of it was reworked, a lot of it was rewritten, and obviously he had his own lyrics in there as well, which is also great and also well worth checking out. Okay. So that's delightful as well. And finally,
by the way, I can kind of understand why this, because it's got so many, because it is a little bit weird, a little bit whoa, a little bit culture in your face. Yeah, I can understand why this got a lot of heat. Yeah, it came quite famous because people were probably it started conversations on. Yeah. Oh, he doesn't like this. He's dissed Stephen Fry.
He said,
"How dare he?"
He said the Ting Tings were just a band. Yeah. The Stephen Fry lyric is actually one he changed later on. Oh. Yeah, after discovering that Stephen Fry was a supporter of fox hunting. Oh. He changed it, and I'm trying to remember who it was. Oh. And it's I think it's a journalist. Anyway. I don't know whether I'm right on that, but he definitely changed the Stephen Fry lyrics. So. Okay. So thou shalt question Stephen Fry.
Yes.
On to the final track on the album, or is it?
Oh.
Did you listen to the bonus track at the end?
No.
Right. Okay. Right. On to the last track of the album.
Because you said, it's only the first 13.
Hold on, only the first 13. Well, it is. Hold on. Well, that is 12A and 12B, but.
Oh.
That's all right.
I didn't realise it's. On Spotify, that's one song.
Oh right, okay.
So I have listened to it.
Right, okay.
But obviously didn't realise it was 2 songs.
Okay. So, waiting for the beat to kick in, which is Scroobius Pip telling us a dreamscape story.
Yes.
And I'm here for it all night long. Yeah. As he explores various parts of his personality.
Yeah.
And this is something that after watching Kate Tempest do a rap about classical literature, about Ulysses and the other one whose name isn't coming to mind at the moment.
Hercules, Apollo.
No, but it's from that world, and Prometheus. There we go.
Yeah.
And this is in that room. You can do anything in hip hop. It doesn't have to be about I'm wearing my favourite brands.
Yeah.
And if you say a bad thing about me, I'm gonna stab you in it. And all of this nonsense. You can do hip hop about anything. Yeah. And the wider realm of subjects that you cover in your music, the more it lets people know that you've done your homework.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, you can have your.
No. So the first thing I said is it is very long.
Yeah.
Now I know why.
Yeah.
But it has got a very definite rhythm and story about it. Now, obviously, I noticed that a lot of names were coming up because he meets these people. Yeah. So obviously I had to look up who these people were.
Oh, this is something I've never done.
So they are film characters.
Right.
So there's one from a film called Buffalo 66.
Right.
A film I've...
Also referenced by...
Who?
Wet Leg.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Baby, do you want to come home with me? I've got Buffalo 66 on DVD.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's quite... Each of the people is from a film.
Right, okay.
So I'm guessing that they are one of his favourite films or film characters, and they're saying, because he goes on about playing the villain and stuff. So I'm guessing that person is the villain or has to put up with the villain during the story and is maybe...
I think it's also an exploration of whether he is the villain in his own story.
Yes.
Which is, again, a lovely idea to explore.
Yes.
And doing it using filmscapes.
Yeah.
Is a fascinating way
So
to do
obviously,
it.
if you've seen those films,
Yeah.
it probably makes even more sense
Yeah.
than if you've seen no films like me.
Yeah. I've got to be honest, we're both in that boat
Yes,
pretty much.
yes.
Aren't we? We're not huge movie viewers,
No.
but so the bonus track on the album, which on the CD version at least, there is a sort of 3-minute gap, and then Reading My Dreams comes in, which is sort of the lullaby track. Did you hear that one?
I don't think so.
Right, okay.
Well, if I did, I don't. No, I don't. Well, it's really weird because on Spotify it is like 11 minutes long.
Oh right,
So,
okay.
Look. Oh no, it says
Oh right, okay. So perhaps it just gets to the end of waiting for the beat to kick in, and then still has the big gap that there was
maybe
after that, and then has the bonus track.
So
but
no,
before which
listened.
you'll get all the adverts on Spotify.
Yes.
So. Yeah. Okay. So that is a sort of a lullaby meditation.
Is it a come down track? Is it like a...
Possibly. It's sort of the... you've listened to the end of the album, you've fallen asleep in the film soundscape, and this is just to meditate. It's almost like the words of affirmation
okay.
thing. And I think everything in it he says twice, I believe, or it might even be 4 times. But yeah, is very much so I'm going to have to say meditation again, because I can't think of how else to describe it at the end of the album, which is a huge calm after the storm we've had.
Yes, because there's been a lot going on, and I guess this is a kind of back to normal, back to getting you assimilated back into the normal day. Yeah.
Or bringing you back into the real world.
Yes.
But yeah, so that completes our run through of the songs on the album. I almost feel like I should apologise a bit.
Oh, right, okay.
Because I know we've been trying to keep these down to about half an hour.
Yeah.
And sorry, we did... sorry, not we. I went on a bit during that.
Well, the thing is that in the same way that I found it harder to access was possibly the reason why this podcast is so long, is because it is extremely word based.
Yeah.
And to be able to explain the word almost, you can't just go, oh, it was a nice tune.
Yeah.
Because I think they would find that quite, not offensive, but I think they want you to feel something or learn something.
Yeah.
Even if it's, I disagree with you.
Yeah.
Or I don't think like that. Or you're not going far enough.
Yeah.
They want you to feel something.
It is an album to start a discussion,
yes.
which is unfortunately what they did. But
yes.
So yes, apologies if we lasted a bit longer than you were expecting. But it's the first time anyone said that to me.
Yeah, you might want to. You might want to pace yourself with it.
Okay.
Because
is our next album going to be
be a
20-minute or something?
Well, it's not, unfortunately.
Okay.
I mean more in. I personally, if we were to do this all over again, and you were to say to me we're having this album, I think I probably would have done like a track a day or something.
Okay.
I don't think I could listen to something that intensely in such a small space of time.
Okay. I apologise for that.
No. I think I could eventually, once I'd got my head, but trying to get my head round it and understand it and get the music and get the point of view.
Yeah.
And know how I feel about everything.
Yeah.
Is quite exhausting.
Yes.
In a small amount of time.
Yeah.
Anyway. But I'm not saying it. I'm just trying to
Okay.
balance things.
But yeah, I mean, as may have come across when we were talking about it track by track, I quite like this album. it's yeah, and it's been really nice to reacquaint myself with it again. Mm-hmm. And it's also surprising how much of it has been stuck in there. Particularly the tracks I haven't listened to a great deal. I found myself knowing some of the refrains.
Yeah.
And some of the lyrics I particularly chimed with in there. Mm-hmm. So I would encourage anyone to go out and find a copy of it and enjoy it.
Okay. Right. Shall I tell you what we're going to do next time?
Yes.
Right. So this is not far away in terms of genre.
Right. Is it Cypress Hill?
No. Well, I say it's not too far. It's a bit far away, but it's in. There are some Venn diagrams.
Yeah. Okay. That's all right.
Because it's become plainly clear that it's been very male and white.
Oh right.
So we are going to have something that's black, female, and maybe slightly queer as well.
Right.
So, what are you doing?
No, it's all right. I just came up with a joke, but I don't want to get cancelled. Carry on. It's a joke for the front room. It's not a joke for the microphone.
Okay. So, I want you to listen to The Archer Android by Janelle Monáe.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Which is over an hour.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tracks on this album, but a lot of them are almost intros and outros and act kind of beginnings.
So links between.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's some that don't even have. There may well even be a few that are just like instrumental.
Yeah.
Things. But it does go on a little bit. But as you can see from the list.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But it should be something a little bit different.
Yeah.
To listen to, but not too far away.
No,
that's
great. Because obviously I've seen her doing live performances on TV.
TV, yeah.
And stuff like that, and it's always looked like a joyous place to be. So yeah, I should look forward to that.
Good. Right. So if you want to tell us what you think,
suggest us an album.
Yes, you can get in touch with us at Albumble at Twitter, and we are on Twitter. We're on. What are we on?
Are we on Bebo?
We're on Podbean.
We're on MySpace.
We're on. Stop it. YouTube. We're on Audible. We're on Amazon. We're on Quick Save. I don't know.
We're on TDKC90s.
Yes. Yes. Most places you get podcasts, we are somewhere in the vicinity. Tell your friends.
Tell your
say
enemies.
Hello. Yeah.
We don't mind.
Especially tell your enemies. So we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time.
With Janelle Monáe.
With Janelle Monáe.
Janelle Monáe?
But she doesn't...
She's not Australian though, is she?
But I bet she doesn't like going there. Oh, Janelle.
Oh, no.
Right. That was really bad.
That come from? Okay.
I'm all over the place.
Until the next time we cross paths.
Yes, right.
Thank you for joining us.
Right. We'll see you in a few weeks. Bye.
Bye.